It's good for you that I go away. This is better. You would love for me to stay with you forever. You feel safe when I'm with you. You feel like there's somebody there who's in control, who knows what's going on. You know, remember when we couldn't cast that devil out and you came along and you just spoke the word and that devil had to leave. Jesus, don't leave us. Oh, Jesus, the best thing that could possibly happen would be for you just to stay right here with us. And he says, no. I've got a bigger plan. I've got a better plan. I'm going to my Father and it's going to be wonderful. It's that wonderful that I believe God wants us to enter into. I'm not just talking about seeking after signs and wonders, but I'm going to tell you what. I believe there's something here that God wants to do to where the things that Jesus did are not weird, wild, way out and just amazing. They just become natural. You think of what the church was right after Pentecost. You think of the life that they had, the joy, the unity, the spirit of power, and how people came to that light. They were just gripped with the reality of God and salvation. And it wasn't any big deal for people to be healed and all these wonderful things to happen. Why? Because God was on the scene. He was real. He lived in those people. Here's Jesus saying, He will do even greater things than these because I am going to the Father. Now, how many of you, when you read something like this, you just have this feeling of unbelief sort of whelm up on the inside? Anybody? Yeah, that's kind of where we're at. I just pray that God will make Himself so real that we won't just think of these things as, oh my God, that's just something way out there. I could never, God could never do those things again. I'll tell you what. There was a time in this church when we saw some pretty amazing things, when God came on the scene. We have an amazing God. He has not changed. We are the ones who have changed. And I pray that God will make what He has said. Is this word true? Yeah, I mean, is this really true, or are we just sort of spouting out doctrines that we say we believe, but we don't actually expect anything to ever change? God help me. God help every one of us. We are so full of unbelief, and I'm first to confess, I need God to build faith in me. But that's what He says. He will do even greater things than these because I am going to my Father. There's a definite relationship in all of these things happening, what He's saying coming to pass, and Him going back to the Father. That's the reason. That's the foundation for all of this happening. And I will do whatever you ask in my name. Why? So that the Son may bring glory to the Father. You may ask for anything in my name and I will do it. May God bring us into that kind of a relationship where we know how to reach out to God in faith and see things happen. I believe there's some of that going on right now. I believe God wants to encourage us with the promises of His Word, that if we are truly about the Father's business, we can see the Father work. If we are about God's business, we're going to see God begin to move in ways that we have sort of almost come to expect that, oh, that'll never happen. God, deliver us. He goes on and he says, if you love me, you will obey what I command. Oh, there we go. Obeying laws, keeping commandments. Is that what this is about? What's he talking about there? You don't have to look far. All you have to do is go back into the end of chapter 13. Verse 34, he says, a new command I give you. Love one another. 3 words, a law consisting of 3 words. Love one another. Love, we read elsewhere, is the fulfilling of the law. If you've got this working in somebody's heart, you don't have to tell them all about all this stuff they shouldn't do. They won't. It's not a negative, don't do this, don't do that. It's a do this. You love one another. God is seeking to bring men into a relationship that transcends what we call race in this world, that absolutely binds us with people across the planet, that builds a family of people who absolutely are connected one with another by the love of God that lives in us. If you love me, you will obey what I command. In other words, you'll love one another. And I will ask the Father. Now, we're going to find something expressed here, and I'm not going to try to explain it. I've probably said this before. The same truth is conveyed in so many different ways that sound confusing if you try to straighten it out with your mind. And I'll tell you the truth. I would rather experience what he's talking about here and not understand it than I would to unravel it all with my mind and not experience it. How about you? I don't have to understand something. I can trust God. But he's saying the same thing in several different ways. He begins by saying, I will ask the Father, and he will give you another counselor to be with you forever, the Spirit of truth. The world cannot accept him because it neither sees him nor knows him, but you know him, for he lives with you and will be in you. So there was already a relationship that existed. I believe God's protective hand was around his disciples. Did Jesus not say, Father, I have kept them? In his prayer in John 17, those you gave me out of the world, I've kept them. God had his hand around their lives. God was with them many times when Jesus gave them authority to go out and do things. But there's something new that was coming. The one who has been with you is now going to be in you. You know, I heard Rabbi Zacharias say something else recently. This is not really the occasion for this, but and I don't like to call Christianity a religion, but for purposes of making this statement, I think it's probably okay. So Christianity is the only religion in the world in which the God they worship actually comes to live on the inside. Now, I grant you there's an awful lot of people who use the name Christian who don't know anything about this. That's what I say. There's something here that is little understood. But oh, thank God for that. That's the relationship that God is seeking to establish. It's not him out there telling us what to do and we're somehow conforming our behavior to a religious standard. It's him coming on the inside. The world cannot accept him because it says, but you know him, for he lives with you and will be in you. Now listen to this statement. I mentioned at the beginning 3 comings of Christ. Well, we know the first one is when he came as Jesus of Nazareth. We know he's coming back in clouds of glory. Everybody, I will see him on that day. There won't be any mistake. He will come in such a way the world will know it. But listen to what he says here. I will not leave you as orphans. I will come. But then he qualifies it. I will come to you. This is a description of God's plan for his people in the earth. It is a coming to us in such a way that we have a relationship with him and with each other that the world has no capacity whatsoever to understand. God, give us a revelation of this. I feel so helpless to express it. But something amazing was about to happen. Jesus was going to leave. They were going to go through a period of confusion, fear, scattering, and then being called back together and told to wait for something. But Jesus doesn't describe this as, I'm going to sit up in heaven, I'm going to just send someone or something to you. He says, I am going to come.